Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dishing with Stephanie's Dish, the podcast where we talk to people about food, that work in food, that love food. And I'm here today with Rachel Ingber, and she is the founder of a company called heirloomcollab.com. And I'm super excited to talk to her because what she helps you do is she helps you put your family recipes, your heirlooms, your treasured Grandma Jane's pie recipe into a format that you can use it either for just having as like a Word document situation, or she'll help you actually put it into a book. Rachel, this is so needed and so excited to talk to you because I feel like this is such a lovely thing that you can offer people. How did you get started?
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you as well. I actually started by creating a cookbook for our family. I created in 2019 a cookbook honoring my husband's grandmother's recipes. She had was about to turn 100. I gave it to her for her 100th birthday. And she was super renowned in the family for her cooking and baking. And originally, I just wanted the recipes for myself. And so I started collecting them over the years and had this idea of like taking pictures of each item and making it look like a real cookbook. And so after I had finished that book for her, the whole family wanted a copy. And I think we ended up having over 100 family and friends request to get a copy of the book. And she ended up passing away later that following year, but it became this really amazing tribute to her and so nice and lovely that we were able to cook her food whenever we missed her and have her cookbook sitting out with her picture on it. So,
Yes.
the idea of starting to do it for other people and their families as well kind of spurred as this COVID side hustle project, just to kind of to pass it forward.
What was one of the recipes in your grandma's cookbook that stands out to you that you love?
Yeah, my favorite recipe, it's probably a tie, her apple crisp I make for probably almost all of our family holiday gatherings. And my father-in-law even requests it for his birthday these days. And then her chocolate chip cookies, like it's just such a classic, amazing cookie. And those are probably the go-to when we're missing her. We make her cookies and they're just the greatest.
So how do they give you these recipes? Like, do they put them in a Word document and then send them your way? Or like what? This is I write cookbooks, so it's such a challenging process. I'm curious how you take like these heirlooms and you condense them and get them into a form where these people can use them in a book.
Yeah, so when I meet with a client, we have a consultation, and it's actually quite simple. They can I create a Google Drive for them to share their recipes with me, and it could be anything from something already typed up in Word if they keep track of that, or sometimes it's them just photographing their handwritten index cards. Especially a lot of my older clients aren't like
Yep.
savvy to retype them, so they'll drop those over to me, and then I will type them all up for them and um, collaborate with them on, what sections they want, how many of the recipes they want to include, which ones they would like to be photographed. I do all the photography as well. And together we collaborate to make that cookbook.
So last year, how many books do you think you made?
I think last year I made probably around 10 throughout the year. And I have previously been doing this part-time. As I said, it started with a side hustle. And then in late fall, just decided to sort of do this a little bit more full-time. So hoping to ramp up even more business this year.
How have you figured out how many books you think you can do in a year? Because I'm working on a book right now, and just the idea of writing 10 cookbooks, I'm like, oh, that's so much work.
I haven't had to put a number on it. So far, I haven't needed to turn anybody away. I've been really fortunate to be able to squeeze things in and make time. But I think I'm fortunate in that a lot of the hard part is done because the clients are the ones that are supplying the recipe and supplying the stories and the introduction that goes along. I know in your cookbook is so beautifully written that
Thanks.
must have been such a labor of love to write out those stories and be really thoughtful. And so I'm lucky in that part of the work is on the client for me.
So when it seems like I just looked at your kind of pricing on your website, and I'm sure this varies depending on the complexity of the project, but like you can get, it looks like a pretty good size book with some good family recipes, like for under $5,000 all in with pictures and everything. I mean, when you think about that, to have it in your family and an heirloom like that, that feels really reasonable to me.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot of work. Like I said, I go through and I edit every recipe. I try to translate it so that it's so that future generations will be able to easily make it. Things won't need to be memorized. And then for all the items that are photographed, for folks that are local, they have the option. They can either make or cook the dish, and I'll come over and photograph them in a few different sessions. Or I can do it all, and I that is what I do for clients of mine that aren't local. So the actual cooking of the dishes and the styling and taking shots of it, that can end up taking a lot of work. So that's kind of what makes the price the way it is. It's certainly not a cheap and expensive gift, but it's something that I have a lot of clients that go in with like their siblings and give it together as a gift for their parents' birthday or anniversary.
Yeah.
Um, and it typically works out well that way. But yeah, as you mentioned, it's something that their whole family will be able to pass down and be able to share those with future generations, and order more cookbooks whenever they want. You can have unlimited number of copies of it.
Do you find that people more often than not make the recipe and have you photograph it, or do they want you to make it?
Honestly, it's about 50-50 of folks that want that control and want to be able to make it the way that they make it. And that works out just fine. Sometimes it's nice that I can, even if I'm coming to their house or kitchen to photograph, it's in their dishes. So it's set up the way that they always would serve it. Whereas when I'm the one doing it, I get to take a little bit more creative license, and make it, style it beautifully. And it turns out beautiful either way, but it's about 50-50 on what a client wants. And that
Do
works
you
out
have
great.
to do you have to warehouse like dishes and different things for styling purposes?
I do. Yes, I have like a little mini prop studio in my house. And then I also have like backboards and stuff that I travel with. So when I go to a client's home, it's not necessarily even taken in their kitchen. I find the place with the best light in their house, and I set up, a fake wooden table or different countertops, and take photos that way.
Yeah, it's people don't think about like all of the weird styling that has to happen for these books. Um, when you are doing like a lot of our grandma's recipes have ingredients that people don't really have anymore. Like one of the ones that comes to mind is oleo. I don't know if you've ever
Mhm.
come across any recipes with oleo, which is basically just like a Crisco or a lard. But do you just make substitutions on those then or try to modernize them?
So I always ask, that's part of the collaboration process, but I will ask the client, do you want me to say margarine or butter or Crisco, or do you want me to use the initial original terminology? Same with like, I see a lot of like number 10 cans or whatever
Yes.
that is of canned vegetables. So we always discuss that up front on if they want it to be true to how it was originally written or modernized so that anyone can follow it in the future.
Has this set a fire in you to write your own book?
I haven't really thought about doing that yet. I love cooking. I love cookbooks. I've been experimenting a lot with gluten-free lately. My son, about a year and a half ago, was diagnosed with celiac disease. So that's been something I've been doing personally a lot, is converting all of my favorite recipes to be gluten-free for him. And so that's kind of been fun, but I haven't thought of yet making a cookbook of them.
It is. So, I mean, you're lucky in that, somebody being gluten free so long ago, they didn't even know, number one. Number
Mhm.
two, there weren't substitutions of flour and different things like there are now. That's so nice. And so many of the recipes, we know all the tricks to like translate things beautifully.
Yes, I feel incredibly fortunate that we're living in the age where it's so common and the grocery stores have a lot of ingredients. So, and I'm lucky that I like to cook. So
Yeah.
it actually makes the eating at home is quite easy. It's eating out at restaurants that is more challenging for us. But yeah, he's lucky to have me experimenting in the kitchen a lot.
Do you have
For
some favorite restaurants that you go to that offer gluten-free things?
Well, because he's only 8 and has a very kids-like palate, his favorite right now is actually Redstone.
Sure.
He's a big French fry lover. So we look for restaurants that have like a dedicated gluten-free fryer. That's one of his main prerequisites. But in terms of more mature tastes, I really love Colita. That menu is 100% gluten-free. So is Hi Hi. So there's lots of really awesome options out there.
Yeah, you mentioned two of my favorites. My friend Jolene is working at Hi Hi and revamping and creating some new menu items that just look fantastic.
It's incredible. I'm going there this week.
Yeah, it's super delicious. So when we talk about cookbooks, are there some favorites that stand out to you that you find yourself going to, like, or that you just love or think are so beautiful?
Absolutely. I am a sucker for like color and herbs and stuff. So I think that those often will make photos really pop, just some added fresh herbs on top of dishes. But yeah, I have a lot of favorites that I've kind of adopted over the years of doing this. Kind of one of the perks of doing it is I get to borrow people's recipes. Um, but yeah, we eat a lot of chicken, a lot of salmon. I do meatballs at least once a week from scratch for my family. So we've had lots of favorites.
I'm looking behind you and I see my cookbook on your shelf.
Yep, it's up there.
I see it. It's so cute. But it's also next to like Salad Freak. Like if you think about a book that is just so beautiful visually, like that book. And I don't cook out of it as much as I would like to because I liked the recipes in there. I'm just like, it's just such a beautiful book. And I'm a sucker too for like, there's a lot of Mexican and Indian cookbooks out right now that they're just so vibrant on the front covers. Do you shoot the covers for your books too?
Yes. So typically it is one of the dishes that I photograph that goes on the cover. Or if the person that we're honoring is still alive, I'll take their portrait. So I have yeah, a few where it's the person that we're
Sure.
celebrating picture on the front of the cover.
Oh, I just love this. I think it is so great. And, there are services that do this where you can upload files but the idea of you giving like a real personal experience and walking them through it and then also making the dishes like and making it like a professional book. I just think it's so cool. So people can start out and get information about you at heirloomcollab.com. And you've got some like beginning price points there. I'm sure depending on the level of complexity, you'll figure out whatever needs to happen. Do you like, I would imagine that's kind of hard to figure out all the pricing. Like, were you upside down at first when you started just in time? I would imagine you would be.
Yeah, so I actually give every single client a custom quote based on the things that they actually want to include in their book. And the way that I price it is really just on number of total recipes and how many are going to be photographed. That is the bulk of what dictates my time. So all of the things, other things I include, like taking photographs of those handwritten original note cards or incorporating family photos and stories. I do that. I just incorporate that into the project and know that's going to be coming. But that way I don't have to a la carte every little thing. And it can be a little bit more of a full service model.
Yeah,
So I had just have like a equation that I use to kind of price those out. But the website is really meant to give people an idea, a
yeah.
starting point of the types of like packages, if you will, that we can provide.
And I love that because it allows you as a family to make a decision because it's an investment, but like, okay, how are we going to work this out? And do we want to do it? And yeah, I'm a big fan of what you do. You showed me one of your books. That's just so sweet. And if people are looking for this service, it sounds like Rachel can take on some more work. So go ahead and I'll put your links in the show notes and people can follow up with you and let her know that Stephanie's Dish sent you just because it's always good. I'm just crazy about your service. Honestly, I found you online. I saw on Instagram and I was like, wait, there's a lady that does this for people. This is amazing because it's an undertaking.
Yeah, thank you. I love it so much. Honestly, my passions have always been around like food, photography, and families. So the being able to tie all three of those together in this thing called work is incredible.
Yeah. Oh, you're so great. It's nice to meet you too. Thanks for coming on the program. I really appreciate it.
Nice to meet you too.
All right. We'll talk soon. Thanks, Rachel.